Let me quickly start. Give me a minute. Yeah. So our topic of discussion today is cloud computing, and then if you see the next line that I've written here as a tagline here, powering the next disruptions. So I'll be covering why cloud is so important and how cloud is playing the role in uh, powering the innovations and disruptions and helping the new technologies and organizations to build their base using the technologies that are available on the cloud. So we'll talk about that. But we'll start with very basic. What is cloud computing and how it has evolved and what all the various underlying things in it. So let me start from there. You can always ask any questions if you have, or you can note it down and maybe you can ask at the end as well. I'm open to your questions. Let me start with this quick question. Is it a new technology? Uh, and maybe you can say that, okay, there's no more new technologies being there in the industry for more than a decade. But my question is more focused on, is it really a technology? Is cloud computing uh, can be classified as a technology? So to understand that, let us see. So let me, instead of going into all technical definitions and all, I wanted to start with an example and a scenario that will make you uh, easy to understand the concepts and the reason behind that and the benefits of the cloud computing. So let me take this example. Let us say that you want to develop a e-commerce website. That means, let us say you want to start a business like Amazon, your Flipkart or eBay kind of a business where you want to develop an e-commerce website. So what all you need from the infrastructure perspective? Okay, you have an application developed. That's fine. But what all the infrastructure needs you have? Basically, you need some server where your application runs, and some storage where all your data, your right from your database to your images, videos, and all the data that is being recorded from the user will be stored in some storage locations. Okay, and just a minute. I think, can you see my PPT?
Yes, it's visible, sir.
Perfect. Yeah, thank you. Yeah. Yeah. So you need some server, you need some storage, and then you need network between all these servers. You will have multiple servers for a database and for your logs and for your application. For all of these things, you need networks, and you need an internet connection from so that your customers from outside can interact with your application and start using your services. And on top of your infrastructure, the hardware, you need some software layers. Like you need an operating system, your Linux or your Windows or whatever the kind of operating system, and you need some runtime environment. For example, if you're using your application is using Java, then you need Java installed on that, or Python or whatever, right? Some application environment needs to be installed on top of your operating system, and you need some database, maybe Oracle or your SQL Server or something. So the list goes on. Actually, this is not a complete list. The list goes on. So you have a list of all these things. You need underlying hardware, and you need a lot of software components installed on top of that, and you need connectivity between them. Then your application, your complete e-commerce application is up and running. So where do you get all these things, and where do you put all these things together? Maybe at your office, your home, or your lab. Where do you do it? So if you do it on your own location, let us say in your own office or in your own laboratory, that is usually termed as on-premise. In your own premises, you're putting it. Then the challenges are, this should be 24 by 7 up, right? So you have a power supply which is 24 by 7 without any disruptions, without any disconnect. You need to have a power supply. You need to have a 24 by 7 high speed internet so that your customers can connect to your servers. And you need security both in terms of your software security, your firewalls, and your gateways, and so many things, and then also physical security so that nothing is damaged. And because you have a lot of physical devices running, it generates a lot of heat, so you need a cooling mechanism. uh, that's why if you have a lot of PCs running, you need some AC so that it gets cooled. Otherwise, it generates a lot of heat. And also along with that, you need some backups. What if some server goes down? What if some storage fails? What if some network doesn't work? You need some backup. So you need a lot of these additional things maintenance you need along with your actual information. Okay, actual information running on your servers. So on-premise, if you run, you are not only developing an application, you are procuring all these infrastructure and then the software layers on top of that, and you are also maintaining all of them together. So that is the extra overhead burden, extra overhead task for you when you run your e-commerce website. So the other option is to host is a data center. A data center is a place where all these things are provided by some third-party provider. There are a lot of data center companies who have all these things available. When I say all these things, they have servers, they have storages, they have networks, and then they have all this power supply, which is a backup power supply as well, so that 24/7 there is no disconnect in the power. They have internet connection, they have all the cooling mechanisms, security. So there is a huge building or a number of buildings where all these things are available. That is called as a data center. So these data centers usually are available on rental basis, where you go to the data center and ask for a particular set of servers. Let's say for this e-commerce website I need 5 servers, 5 high capacity nodes I need. So I go and ask for the 5 servers. So those 5 servers will be taken for a year or 2 year or 3 year lease, and during that time they are completely owned by you. You may not need to physically visit data center every time you want to make a change. You actually connect from your office or your home. You connect via internet to that server, and then you take care of that server, deploying the applications, running maintenance and everything. So data center people provide you a backup. So if the server goes down, they will provide you another server. Same thing with the storage and network and everything. So a data center is a common place where all these things are available, and you are actually taking advantage of all those facilities available, and you are simply utilizing them. So that is called as a shared data center. Okay. So this is how your data center looks like usually. It contains so many racks. These are all servers. You don't need something like a lab setup where you have monitors and keyboards and everything, because you connect from outside from your home or remote. It's a remote connection, but all these networks and then the storage and servers, everything is available there. So it has all redundant things. So if one goes down, the other is available. Redundant power supply, redundant internet connection, redundant networks, uh, and all these things. So this is how a data center looks like. So the concept here is, if you are running an application, basically it's your choice whether you want to run on premise or in a data center. So which one is a better option for you? So very obviously, a data center is a better option, because all the overhead burden of maintenance and extra cost of providing security and cooling and everything. So that is taken care by data center company, and they'll charge you nominal, because that facility is shared with many other users as well. So the cost is not borne by only your company. It is borne by so many other users. So it's a shared set of resources. So that way cost is less, and maintenance is not your overhead. So you focus on your application, you focus on your business. All these things are taken care. So that is called as a data center. Okay. So why are we talking about data center when we are into cloud computing? So simply to answer this, the concept of cloud computing is very simply an advancement of data center concepts. It's simply automation. It's simply a next level of your data center, business or data center automations. So that is a cloud computing. So the whole idea of cloud computing is the resources are available on rental basis. So let me talk about this here. So when we talk about cloud computing, So the first thing I want to highlight here is cloud is not a new technology, or rather it's not a technology at all. So cloud computing is not a technology. Your data center was already there even before the word cloud came in. So people were using data centers for running their applications. All the technology behind the data center, whatever the automations of the data center are already available there. So the only thing is the business model got slightly upgraded and a new way of delivering and consuming the technology. So that means uh, earlier in data center you used to own a server, lease a server for a year or two or something like that. So you plan in advance how many servers you need, and you go on take them on lease. You plan in advance what storage you need, and you go and take the storage and reserve it for your company for maybe a duration of 1 year, 2 years, 3 year, or something like that. Now a lot of advancements happen in this way of delivering the technologies. So the change that happened is, instead of you reserving it for a year or two, you can actually take a server for only few minutes or few hours. I take a server for half an hour, I utilize it, and I can return it back to the data center. So that is how an advancement happened. So it's a new way of delivering the technology. The same technology, the same infrastructure. It's a new way of delivering the technology. Uh, 1 minute. Let me mute all so that there won't be any disturbance. Perfect. So okay. So what actually happened is there was a concept of data centers, and they got evolved slowly over a period of time. Uh, so the way they were giving their resources for consumers on lease or rental basis, so that services are enhanced in the way that they are very quick provisioning is happening, and then for a very short term you can rent or lease a particular resource, instead of you asking for a server with let us say capacity of 16 GB of RAM, and then 1 TB of storage, something like that, a server. Instead of you taking it for a year or two and you completely owning the server, now with this advancement in the technology, you can take only partial server, let us say only 2 GB of RAM and only 2 core processor, partial server, and I can take it for only a limited period of time. Let us say I want to use it for only 1 month, or maybe 1 hour, or less than 1 hour. You can use it and you can release it back. So that all is possible because of the underlying technologies that were developed. So that way this business is evolved. This business became more sophisticated and more flexible, and for more cost effective for the users. So that new approach of delivering the resources from the data center is called as a cloud computing. But then the a very basic question comes in: why is it cloud then? Why is it not an advancement of data center itself? Why do you call it cloud? So it is as simple as this. If you remember in your what do you call that subject? Your design related subjects are there, right? Software designing and all. So you draw the data flow diagrams and design diagrams there. Whenever there is a connection you want to represent over the internet, you show it as a cloud diagram, right? A class is shown as a box, and then a database is shown as a cylinder, something like that. Internet connection is always shown as a cloud. So cloud word is used as a metaphor for internet. That is the one of the standard notation in your computer design concepts. So now that these server storage, everything is available to end customers over internet, because they are not physically visiting your data center. They are not physically connected via a cable to your data center. They are always accessing the servers, the storage, everything over the internet. That means the resources are delivered, our resources are provided to the users via internet. So all this computing capacity is available somewhere else, and you're using it over the internet. So this is called as a internet kind of a computing. So instead of calling it internet, we are calling it cloud, because that is the notation we use. So it's a cloud computing because the computing is available in the cloud. When I say in the cloud, it's basically behind the internet. Right? So that is how the word cloud computing came in. Otherwise, it's the natural evolution of the data centers. So what is this evolution and what exactly it is the benefits it is giving? We'll see one by one. So let me come to the definition of the cloud. When you search in internet, you will find lots of definitions of cloud computing. So I have picked up very standard terms that you need to focus to understand what exactly is cloud computing. And if you see on the screen, I have uh, uh, I mean highlighted few words in bold. So if you see this, cloud computing is internet-based computing, just we discussed, where shared resources. That means the resources are available with the data center and they are now shared. One server is being shared by multiple users, one storage capacity is shared by multiple users, something like that. So your underlying infrastructure or the components are shared by multiple users. So they are shared resources and they are provided to consumers on demand. Now earlier the concept was they were already reserved by the users for a year or two, that is taken on lease, and that complete server is owned by the user. Whether the user is utilizing that server fully or not is up to user, but the data center provider is giving that complete server to the user. Now with this new technologies, basically the virtualization is the technology we'll talk about. So with these new technologies, the resources can be shared, and resources need not to be reserved for a longer duration to waste the resources. Basically you can take the resources only when you need it. I need a server for 1 day. From now I can go and request for the server, and within seconds I can actually have one server ready for me. I'll start using it. I can deploy some software on that and I can use whatever the way I want. And once my task is done, I can actually shut down the server, that is basically returned back to the provider. So I'll pay only for that time. So only on demand basis, only on the need basis, we are using that particular resource. Like electricity, only when the switch on, the electricity is charged. I mean, you have a power supply at your home, but only you, whatever the amount you use, only based on the demand. You switch on your light, you switch on your AC, and then only the power is consumed, and only you pay for that, right? So it is like that. So it's an on demand. So you remember these two words, shared resources, and they are on demand. And computing in which resources are as and all the infrastructure is given as a service. If you see the second box, I highlighted as a service. That means now these particular components, your storage, your network, your operating system, your anything, right, that is available in the data center. Now this is given you as a service. When you say as a service, it is like any other service, electricity service, your telephone service, only when you go and opt for it, and only when you opt based on the amount of capacity you need. I need some X capacity. I need 2 core server. I need 8 GB of RAM, something like that. So they are provided as a service. And when you say as a service, you can opt for it, and you can after your use is over, you can opt out for it. So they are provided as a service. So again, third definition talks about a similar thing, but the most important thing is pay as you go. So it's an on-demand service, and it's a self-service. That is one more important thing. If it were old data centers, obviously you have to go and fill up a form. You have to have an agreement, NDA signed with your provider, and then you take a server for a year or two. But now it is self-service. You can actually log in by yourself. You really don't need to talk to the cloud providers support team always. You can simply go and log in, and you can on click a few buttons, you can actually have one resource ready for you. So it's an on-demand self-service where you actually pay only for the amount of time you're using it. If you're using for 1 hour, you pay only for 1 hour. If you are using for 1 day, you'll pay only for 1 day. So the key concept of cloud computing is it's a data center, but the resources are now provided on demand. Unlike your traditional data centers, the resources are provided as a service, unlike traditional data centers, and resources are provided as pay as you go or pay per use basis. Only for the amount of time you used, you're paying for that resource. So that is the key difference or the key advancement of your traditional data centers. That is the cloud computing. So to understand the cloud computing and the benefits of the cloud computing, let's quickly see this small diagram. You'll understand the comparison here. So if it is not cloud computing, if it is your classical computing, then you have your resources you buy, and you own the resource. That means you go and buy a server, you go and buy a storage, and you go and buy whatever the underlying components you need. So you are the owner of that service, or owner of those resources. That means you are spending a lot of cost in advance, and you are making a decision of what resources you need. So when you buy and own, it is your responsibility to install, configure, and keep them ready. That means test it and make sure that they are working as per your need, and you will start using it. So you use it, and over a period of time, obviously maintenance is needed for any resource. So it is your responsibility to maintain the resources. When you say maintenance, it can be your physical maintenance, or it can be your software upgrades, or any security patches, or anything like that. So your maintenance, and if your use changes, or usually what happens is, after some time, a new version of that same resource comes into the market with advanced features and with more security or something like that, and you need to go and upgrade it for your use. So it is all your responsibility. And what happens is, once this resource becomes obsolete or old, and you need new resources based on your new needs of your business, again it is a cycle of same thing, buying and till upgrade. It is the complete cycle you have to maintain. So it is the responsibility of the user to take care of all these things. But in case of cloud computing, what happens is, a cloud provider is responsible for these things. They have the resources available already. They own it. They have bought the resources, and they have installed and configured. Everything is ready with them. You just go and subscribe for the resource, or you just go and pick a resource that you want on demand and start using it. And once you are done, pay for the amount of time you have used, and you are done, and then you release it back. So remaining all the responsibility lies with the provider itself. So that is the difference between the classical and cloud computing. So obviously cloud computing is a better option for the user, but again it comes with the cost. So you have to pay for the amount of time you're using, and as you use it for a longer duration, you might end up paying very high. But it depends on your demand, and it depends on your usage. If you are effectively utilizing the resources, and if you are making sure that you are using it only for the time that you actually need it, then maybe you are using it as a cost effective solution. So the industry is completely moving towards cloud, and all the companies are now they are not buying and they are not maintaining their own data centers. And the only reason behind that is, obviously they are saving a lot of money on uh, buying the resources and also maintenance of the resources. So there is a standard definition. There is a standard institution, National Institute of Standards and Technology. They provide a lot of standards in the IT industry, in the technology terms, and then you know they provide a lot of definition for the new technologies. So this is one of the definition they provide for cloud computing. They say that when you say something is to be termed as a cloud, basically these are the characteristics that are needed for that service. It should be on demand. That means it's not like you need a server today and you go and ask the cloud provider, and he'll say that okay, come back after 1 week, and after 1 week you go and sign the documents, and then a server is given to you. It's not like that. On demand, it should be available whenever you need it. Resources should be available, and it should be self-service. It should be so easy to go yourself and provision them, go yourself and start using those services. So it should be on-demand self-service, and it should be measured service. That means uh, cloud provider should have a mechanism to measure how much duration of time, or what capacity have you used. In terms of storage, what is the size of the storage you use. In terms of network, maybe what is the upload and the download bandwidth you used. So it should be a measured service. The monitoring and measurement should be available with the cloud provider. And elastic scalability, that means like elasticity is something like a rubber, right? Where you pull the rubber and it expands. So anytime you need more resources, you should be able to quickly get the number of resources you want. And when you want to scale down, for example, my website has a huge demand during holiday seasons. During a festival season, my e-commerce website has a huge demand. So I need 10 servers to serve that number of users. But once the season is over, I don't need all the 10 servers. I need back to maybe 4 servers again. So in that case, uh, the cloud should be able to give me more number of servers whenever needed and less number of servers whenever I don't need them. That means I should be able to scale up. I should be able to scale down automatically or quickly. So elasticity should be there with the cloud, and resource pooling. This is again at the cloud provider side. Cloud provider should be able to pool the resources. That means set of resources should be available, and which are as a pool they are available whenever you go and want a resource, you go and pick up a resource, and that is available there. So server, storage, network, everything should be available as a resource pool. So NIST says these are the basic characteristics of a cloud. Okay. So this is how cloud looks like. We'll talk about this pooling and elasticity concept in the next couple of slides. So it is like this. If you see the box in the dotted line below, this is completely the cloud provider side. It has physical resources. Lot of infrastructure is available with cloud provider in their own data center, one or more data centers, and they actually have a layer of software on top of that. That virtualization software actually is taking care of uh, you know dividing your resource capacity based on the need of the user. For example, you have a 8 GB or a 16 GB server, but if a user needs only 4 GB, this virtualization layer actually takes care of giving that 4 GB as a separate server to the user. So we'll talk about that again. So a virtualization layer, and on top of that, a cloud management layer will be there, the complete middleware. When it's a cloud management layer, that measurement service, billing service, and then reporting service, all the self-service components, everything is available with this. So you have a physical layer, and you have a virtualization layer, and then you have a cloud management layer. This complete is a set of components that are needed in the cloud provider side. So from the user side, what they do is all the consumers go via this internet, the cloud shown here, right? They go via the internet, they access these resources from their own, nodes, their own premises, from their own computer, laptop, or from their own mobile. They are actually accessing these resources. So whenever they need a resource, they log in and they connect to this middleware and they request for a resource, and resource is immediately available. So typically, this is how the complete cloud architecture looks like. We're not going to too much details of virtualization and middleware here, but at a high level, this is how the cloud concept is. So what is virtualization here? What when we talk about this virtualization layer, just above this physical resources, if you see, what is this virtualization? At a high level, I'll quickly go over what is virtualization. It's a software layer basically on top of your physical hardware. So the advantage of this layer is using this, you can actually divide your one physical resource, that means one physical server, let's say, into multiple small virtual servers, or the other way around is also possible. You have multiple smaller servers, you can combine all of them together, you can provide it as a one large server to the consumer. So it's an abstraction layer using which this kind of a concept is possible. If you have the experience of using any VMware, VMbox, or Oracle VirtualBox or something like that, normally what you do is you have a operating system on your own machine, laptop or desktop. Let's say you have Windows and then you want to install Linux, or you want to use Linux. Instead of installing Linux completely on your machine, you use a VirtualBox, and you create a Linux environment on top of that. So that is also a virtual concept. That means underlying layer is different. You are actually adding one more layer, and you are giving this layer as a separate hardware to the operating system. So one more operating system can be installed on top of that. So that is how a virtualization works. A virtualization is a simply an abstraction between your hardware and your consumer. In between that, this layer takes care of managing the physical resources based on the need. So that is the one key technology that is used in cloud computing. That way, it is more easier for the cloud providers to provide you the resources of based on the your demand, based on your need. If a cloud provider has a server of very high capacity and you are using you are not using that entire capacity, so the provider can actually use the remaining capacity to provide as a service to some other user as well. So that is how it is possible using your virtualization layer. The advantage of virtualizations is lot of cost saving can happen because you are effectively utilizing the resources. If a resource would not get wasted. If you're using only half capacity of the server, remaining half capacity can be used by other user. So that way, it's an effective utilization. In case of any disaster recovery, any backup, you can quickly switch over from if a hardware fails, you can quickly switch over from one hardware to other hardware because of the virtualization layer. It is possible. So there are many advantages. We'll not get into details, but at a high level, this is the virtualization thing. So virtualization is one key technology that is enabling data centers to provide the resources to users in a self service and on-demand basis and a shared manner. They'll be able to give it. So apart from virtualization, what are the other technologies that actually helped? I mean, what are the drivers? What are the drivers behind the evolution of this concept called cloud computing? So this diagram actually gives a high level picture of what are the various things that are involved here. If you see kind of a Venn diagram, but if you see at the bottom, you have data center automations. Data center is a very old concept, but a lot of automations happen to that. What lot of software layers are added to it, which are making them automatically shutting up, shutting down, automatically provisioning and those things. So a lot of automations happen to data centers. And if you see at the top, virtualization concept has improved a lot. A lot of different type of virtualizations came in, which are actually helping this effective utilization of resources and migration of uh, a running capacity from one hardware to other hardware, from a smaller server to larger server without impacting users. So a lot of virtualization advancements happen. A lot of data center advancements happen. So advancement in data centers, advancement in virtualization, actually combination of these two helped uh, effective utilization and effective way of consuming the resources by the users. So that is one combination of the technologies that help in making these data centers as cloud providers. And apart from that, if you see the left side and right side of the circles, uh, these are the at software layer, at management layer, what are the advancements? So utility computing and grid computing came in. When you say utility and grid computing, these were the concepts which were in universities long back, and slowly they became commercialized. Okay, so the concept of this utility computing and grid computing is, you have a huge server at a university and they are not effectively fully utilizing it. So they can divide into chunks, and only a part of that can be actually provided to the user. And on top of that, on the software layer side, the concept of web services, the concept of SOA, and the concept of mashup, where multiple service orchestrations happen. So with that software advancements of this kind of architectures, it became easier to provide these resources as services to the user. So a combination of all these technologies actually helped your cloud computing, uh, you know, the revolution, I can say. The kind of cloud computing revolution happened with advancement of all these technologies. Now, if I come back to the same question, is cloud computing a technology? Maybe your answer is no. It's not a technology as such. Cloud computing itself is not technology, but it's a combination of so many technologies. End of the day, cloud computing, in my view, is only a new business concept, and that is possible only because of so many advancements in so many technologies. Lot of advancement in virtualizations and automations, and then service concepts. Uh, because of advancement of all these things, it became easier to provide the data center resources as a service, on-demand services. So that is the concept of cloud computing came in. Underlying, there are a lot of technologies behind that. Okay, I think with this we understand what is a cloud computing. So let's get into the business model of this cloud computing and how it is being provided in the industry, how it is being used. So in cloud computing, till now we were discussing more on the infrastructure side. I was talking about the just to give a understanding, because that is how we can basically relate to the physical things, right? So infrastructures, in terms of infrastructure, I mean, what we discussed is like storage and servers and network and so many things, right? So infrastructure is provided as a service. You can use that infrastructure based on the demand. So that particular thing is called IaaS. If you see this bottom thing, there are three different terms here, right? The one which is at the bottom, IaaS, infrastructure as a service. So all the physical resources which are given as virtual resources to the end user. That concept is called infrastructure as a service. But not only infrastructure, other resources can also be given as a service. For example, the platforms. For example, Oracle database is installed on a machine, and this is given as a service to the user. So user need not to go and buy and install and maintain Oracle server. Only they can pay for the amount of time they have used the server, and then they can take their data backup, and they can shut down the service. So like that, any operating system or any database or any uh, platform where you can actually develop your applications, your Java platform, your underlying any commercial platforms or any frameworks. So if those things are provided as a service, because when you are providing a service, so it's not only infrastructure, anything you can give a service to the user, and user needs all these things for your application development. That is where we started our first slide. Right? If you remember, starting a e-commerce web service, what all you need? You need a set of hardware resources, and you need a set of software resources. So those software resources can also be provided as a service. So the platforms which are given as a service are called a PaaS, platform as a service. For example, a web server, an application server, a database, anything can be readily installed, configured, and it is available for you to start using it. So that is a platform as a service. And not only platform as a service, just the softwares can also be given as a service. A best example of software as a service nowadays everybody is using, I guess you are also using it, is Office 365. Earlier, Microsoft Office, if you want to use it, you'd buy it, you pay for the entire license, you buy it and you install it in your computer, and then you start using it. So that means you are buying in, you're paying in advance a particular version, and you are using it. Now this Microsoft Office is given as a service by Microsoft. So it is called as Office 365. What happens is you need not to buy the entire license. Only you pay for a monthly basis. Only for the amount of time you are using it. That means for 1 month you pay for that Microsoft Office, and if you are done, you can release it. And in that case, another advantage you get is whenever they release new version of the Office, you again don't have to pay license for that, or you again don't have to go and upgrade for that. That new version is available for you because you are a subscriber and you are paying monthly for that. So the advantage is, for example, a company needs, normally they need 10 licenses because they have 10 employees, but during a peak season of their business, they will be having, like, let us say 100 employees for 2-3 months. So every employee needs that Office license in their laptop or system. So they don't have to buy 100 licenses and keep it with them, because sometime you need 100 employees. They will only take 10 licenses only during the duration where they have more employees. They'll pay extra license cost to Microsoft for those 2-3 months. And once done, those temporary and contract employees are gone back, then you don't pay for those licenses. You only pay for for the amount of licenses you are using within your organization. So that way it is scalable and it is cost effective for you. So that's called as software as a service. So there are three layers: infrastructure as a service, where physical infrastructure is given as a service to the end user, or a platform, any development platform, any management platform can be given as a service, or any software can be given as a service. There are many examples of CRM applications, customer relation management. So earlier, people had to buy that entire application and then install it in their own premises and start using it. Now, uh, these applications are installed at a cloud. All you do is you go and subscribe. That means a user ID is given to you. You go and log in and you start using it. For your organization, it looks like a separate installation, but it is actually a separate, just a tenant for you within the same software. So that is one more example of software as application, software as a service. So at a high level, these are the three layers: infrastructure, platform, and software. These are provided as a service. So what are the differences? If you see, these green color boxes are owned by the user, and red color boxes are maintained by the cloud provider. If you see on premises, right from your physical servers, physical infrastructure to application, everything is owned, maintained, and upgraded by user only. In case of infrastructure as a service, you only take physical resources and you go and install your operating system, or any middleware, any let's say Java or something you're installing, and then writing the application, or installing any other applications is your responsibility. In infrastructure as a service, you take only physical resources, and remaining is you take care of as a user. In case of platform as a service, uh, infrastructure as well as platform is provided, maintained, upgraded by the cloud provider, and all you do is you take your applications, you go and deploy your applications and start running it. So application is what you own and you maintain, and remaining everything is taken care by the cloud provider. In case of software as a service, even applications are installed, maintained, upgraded by your cloud provider. All you do is you log in and start using the application. That's it, and you pay for them. So that is the difference between these three layers of the applications, the layers of the software, the cloud services that are available in the market. So apart from that, these three services, there are a lot of other terms that are there in the industry. But these are the three standard things: IaaS, PaaS, and SaaS. But apart from that, a lot of people talk about other things also. Anything can be provided as service now that we have, you know, the complete management software is available using which you can provide as service. So communication can be given as a service. Only monitoring can be given as a service. Monitoring of your application servers, or network can be given as a service, or only database. They anyway fall in one of those three categories only. They fall in either IaaS or PaaS or SaaS, but people talk about as a different service altogether. Okay. So just for fun, I added this cartoon here. So this guy is asking, do you provide homework as a service as well? So that means cloud, you can expect anything as a service. Okay. So apart from that, the other thing that you need to understand in terms of cloud computing is there are different, in terms of the location, and in terms of the ownership and access, there are different types of clouds. Excuse me. So there is one public cloud. That means a cloud provider has a huge data center, or lot of multiple data centers. All those services available are publicly available. Anybody can go and register and use the services and pay for that. Most common examples are your AWS service, Amazon, and then your Google and Azure. These are all public clouds. That means they are provided by those public providers, and anybody can go and start using them. A private cloud, to understand this, you can understand this scenario. A lot of organizations already had their own data centers from long back, right? So many software companies and so many other companies have their own data centers. So if they have a lot of infrastructure already available with them, so what happens to that infrastructure if they go for cloud? if they go for public cloud. So they may, this infrastructure is wasted. So they may want to use this infrastructure effectively within their organization. They are not a public cloud provider. They are not giving their that infrastructure to their external customers, but within the organization for their users and running their applications, they want to use it. But earlier it was only like working as a data center. Now with the advancement of these additional layers of virtualization and the management layers where you can provide that as a service within the organization, also they can make it as a cloud. If you have experienced this scenario within the organization, normally what happens is, let us say my team needs an additional server for some testing. Before this concept of virtualization and cloud computing, we used to request a server to our IT team. It has to go through approvals of your manager, your VP, or whoever is responsible, and then they acquire a server and they give access to that. It usually used to take a time of a month or so for that entire process. Then you'll get a server available. But if you have your lot of infrastructure within your data center, and if you add a virtualization layer and a service layer on top of that, then what happens is you can actually quickly log in and provision a server and start using it within your team. So that way the advantage of cloud is there within your organization also. So companies can have their own private clouds. So one reason is because they already had infrastructure. The other reason is maybe because of the security reasons, they don't want to host their applications on public cloud. So they may want to host it within their premises, within their data center. So that may be one of the reasons people go for private cloud. And one more concept is hybrid cloud, where companies are using both private and public cloud, and they are connecting together. That means some of the applications which are public facing applications, which are not so serious in terms of security reasons, maybe you can go for your using public cloud, and instead of buying new hardware for your data center, anything additionally you need, you can go for public cloud, and whatever is available within your data center and whatever the critical applications are there, you put it in private cloud and you connect them over the internet. So that is called as a concept of hybrid cloud. So a lot of organizations are using hybrid cloud because they already had their own data center, and any new services they are going with public cloud. Slowly migrations are happening, but hybrid cloud is a common concept that is being used with a lot of organizations. So these are the types of cloud based on the where they are located and who owns and who maintains it. Okay. What are the benefits of this cloud computing? Now that we have discussed in detail about how the cloud computing works, we have covered some of the benefits along with that itself. So the biggest advantage is the user need not to buy complete resources in advance. That means lot of headache, lot of overhead tasks of the user are eliminated. That means you need not to buy, install, and run the application on your own infrastructure. And because of the on-demand service concept, the deployment is faster. You can quickly provision a service and you can quickly go and deploy it. And capital expenses, for example, you're starting a new business, your capital matters a lot. So instead of spending a lot of money on IT resources, you can actually go for cloud computing, and you can start using them without even paying in advance. Only after the usage, you can pay that only for the amount of usage you use. So your expenses are very minimal, or rather no capital expenses for IT for your businesses. And maintenance and upgrade, it is not your responsibility, and cloud providers have their own experts available within their organizations, and they are shared resources. So they take care of maintaining and upgrading the resources. It's not users' responsibility. So that is an advantage. And one more advantage is elasticity. So that means you need not to have a capacity planning in advance of how many resources I need over the year. All I can do is I can start with one or two servers, and as my business grows, as my need increases, I can actually go and take more and more resources from the cloud provider. So that is the elastic concept of the cloud. And whenever my need is over, I can actually reduce the footprint. I can reduce the number of resources I'm using, and I'll pay only for that. So elasticity is one of the biggest advantage of the cloud computing. And one more advantage of cloud computing, or one more reason that people are using cloud computing, is disaster recovery. That means if any failure happens, if it is your physical data center, and if that data center is damaged for any reason, if servers are shut down, if power is gone, or if there is any natural calamity happened, then your entire business is down, right? So you need to have a backup data center and backup location. So organizations keeping backup in so many locations is very costly for them. But if it is cloud, you can quickly take your complete workload to another data center altogether in different location. For example, you can move data center from India to America, or from there to Singapore, or any other location. You can move your data center. That means your complete applications on any data center in cloud. So disaster recovery is can much easily be handled using a backup on another data center within the cloud. And because you are not fully utilizing the backup always, you are paying very less. Only when need arises, you actually go and use that backup. So that way, cost effective and very easy. So these are the advantages of using the cloud computing. So that is how organizations are going for cloud computing. Okay, but then apart from advantages, there are lot of challenges. What challenges do you expect in cloud computing? What are the things you see are like cons of the cloud computing? These are the pros we discussed, right? So one of the biggest challenge a lot of organizations are facing, or one of the concern or question on the cloud computing, is the security itself. How secure is my application or my data in cloud? But you need to remember that when you say security, it's all in different aspects, in terms of your application, in terms of your data, in terms of the physical security, and so many things. So so nowadays, so many organizations are majority of the industry is moving to cloud, even though they have these concerns. What does it mean? It means security challenges are being handled in lot of ways, even though concerns are still there, but lot of ways security challenges are handled. That means cloud providers have a lot of standards that they follow, and they have a lot of security certifications. When I say certification, actually, when they follow the standards, they get a certification from that third party certification provider. So they take those certifications, they follow those standards. That way security risk is minimized. And also security is responsibility of the user also, when they are using the cloud services, maybe putting it behind the firewall, creating VPCs, and lot of ways that can actually secure it. And same thing happens with the privacy. Is my data private, or can anybody else go and access my data on the cloud? uh, it is actually privacy is maintained by the cloud providers. Everybody, or somebody from the cloud providers organization, cannot log in and check your data. But again, you have to be careful with your uh, for example, your cipher keys of the data, and then your authentication mechanisms, and this is, you have to be careful. Apart from that, cloud provides their own security mechanisms and privacy mechanisms. Reliability, how much reliability is in terms of the speed, in terms of the availability. Yes, they are reliable. Sometimes some outages happen in the industry, and recently also IBM had one cloud outage. It happens rarely, but again, with your disaster recovery plan, with your backup, most of the times you can still manage your business. But 99.9999% of the time it is up. So it is reliable. Data recovery is also one of the challenge. What happens if I want to recover my data if there is a failure? Yes, there are backups maintained using which you can actually recover your data. If your systems fail, if your storages fail, still your data will not be lost. But you actually pay for the cost of that backup also. And how about SLAs and service management? Cloud provider gives you the SLAs in terms of the speed of the and capacity of the servers, whatever they are claiming, is it up to that mark or not? Yes, there are SLA agreements between the customers and the cloud providers, and they adhere to that SLAs. And same thing with the quality of service, whatever they are claiming, do you get that quality of service is a question. The experience is, yes, when the cloud providers give you the resources, yes, they provide with the quality, but there are rare cases where you might get some issues with the quality. Again, that is between the user and the cloud provider, how you manage your SLAs and your costs and everything. And vendor locking, what happens if I actually use a cloud provider, let us say Amazon, and after some time I feel that it is more costly, or I feel that there are some facilities not available here, and I want to go to another cloud, let's say Azure or cloud or Google Cloud or something like that. Is it possible? Can I actually move to a different cloud? Yes, it is possible. It all depends on the what services you are using from the cloud provider. If you're using specific provider services which are not available with the other providers, then maybe a challenge. For example, you're using some of the DevOps services and some of the deployment services and some of the monitoring services from a cloud provider. Maybe you have to look for the alternate service with the other provider, and you can actually migrate it. So it might need some effort and some cost for migration, but vendor locking is not such a big issue. Your complete application is not logged with the provider, logged with a cloud provider. So these are the challenges. What are the top cloud providers in the market today? Let us see. So these are the top names that come to your mind. Amazon Web Services is obviously one of the topmost cloud provider with so many services, and in terms of revenue share, in terms of the customer base, it is the highest one. And the next cloud provider is from the Microsoft. It is called as Azure. So, and then you have Google Cloud Platform, you have IBM, you have Oracle Cloud, you have DigitalOcean, you have Rackspace. These DigitalOcean, Rackspace are mostly into IaaS, but they provide some PaaS, but mostly into IaaS. And Alibaba Cloud, again one of the top provider from China. So these are the providers, but it's not again a complete list. There are hundreds of cloud providers available in the market, and each has their own unique services and benefits in terms of cost, in terms of services, in terms of location. There are advantages that those cloud providers have. So people opt for the provider based on the various factors. Some government restrictions say that you cannot use a cloud provider data center outside your country. In that case, maybe you go for a cloud provider within your country. Like this, there are multiple reasons you based on which you pick up a cloud provider. But one a few basic things are cost and the services that providers actually give you. So how is cloud being adopted in the industry? Is it picking up a lot? Yes. Now by 2020, yes, lot of organizations have already moved to cloud. Yes, it has reached the mainstream adoption. So what are the business reasons for adopting cloud? We have seen the technology drivers why cloud evolved, and we will see the business reasons why cloud is so popular in the market. So these are the business reasons. For example, capacity planning. You need not to plan in advance all your capacity. You need not to calculate in advance your business needs. All you can do is you can start with a small infrastructure and small services, and as go and pick up more and more resources. So capacity planning is one advantage. Cost reduction, very obviously, operation cost, upgrade cost, and your data center maintenance cost, lot of other cost actually is reduced by using this cloud computing. You pay for only the amount of time you're using it. And organizational agility, what happens is your business changes a lot nowadays in the business market, right? uh, being more agile, being more adaptable is a key factor for your business. If you are rigid, you cannot continue the business. As the market dynamics change, you actually have to change your business strategies. You have to provide different services. So that is possible only if your IT supports. If IT is very rigid, IT says that okay, your business wants one new service to be launched, one new, let's say, campaign to be launched, and IT says that we need so much of cost, and we need some few months to deploy this particular service, then obviously your business fails. IT should quickly support your business for your agile thing, for your agility, and for your dynamics of the market. So with cloud, it is possible to quickly use those services, quickly provision the infrastructure, and quickly use the softwares and platforms. So those are the reasons businesses are actually going to the cloud things. Okay. So again, in this adoption, what are the standard ways industries adopting cloud? Industries using hybrid and multi-cloud solutions. Hybrid is like a private cloud. That means part of your applications and part of your services are within your organization, and remaining are in the public cloud. So that is one way of doing it. Otherwise, multi-cloud solutions. Industries are using multiple clouds. They are not stick to one cloud. Some services they are using from Amazon, some services from let's say Azure or Google or something like that. Even my organization uses a lot of multiple clouds because of the cost savings. Infrastructure is used from some providers, and some services are used from some other cloud provider. So multi-cloud solution is a common thing in the industry now. And backup and DR, yes, as we just discussed, disaster recovery and backup. Those are the reasons industry is using. So that is how industry is adopting cloud. Maybe their main workload, main application is running within their organization, but as a backup, they are having cloud servers as well. So whenever needed, they can actually move to cloud. And one more thing is serverless computing. That means you really don't have to bother about the infrastructure. You need is you have an application to run, and cloud takes care of provisioning the infrastructure and then maintaining it. So serverless computing is again a new concept. People are using it. And for other platforms like AI platform, you don't have to actually install your complete AI, because AI needs your machine learning, and AI needs lot of computational capacity for your data analysis and calculations. So there are a lot of AI platforms where underlying libraries and platforms and then infrastructure is available. You can just go and use that for your machine learning purposes. Edge computing is one more thing. We will not go into all the details. Edge computing is one more thing. Uh, People are using cloud computing. Okay. So I'll come to the important topic of next disruptions, and we'll quickly wrap up in maybe 5-10 minutes. So if you remember, I was talking in the title that I have mentioned as cloud computing is powering the next disruptions. What I mean is, cloud computing nowadays is providing so many advanced services and so many new and cutting edge services that if you have an idea, if you want to start a new business, if you want to apply your new innovation, if you want to disrupt the market, then you are not bound because of the resources available. Earlier, what used to happen is you have a very good idea, but you need lot of resources to execute your idea, and because of that restrictions, you need a lot of money to acquire those resources, and you are actually dependent on your funding and capitalist venture capitalist, something like that. If you don't get a proper funding, then your business cannot be started, your idea cannot be executed. Those are the challenges. Now with cloud, what happens is cloud provides lot of resources with very low cost, or initially maybe free. So you don't have to really bother about the cost and the provisioning of those resources. You can quickly start implementing your ideas, so you can disrupt the market. You can innovate a lot of things. You can disrupt the market using this services available in the cloud. So cloud computing is something which is powering or helping the disruptions in the market. That is what my whole concept is there. So what are those products and services that would help you launch your new ideas? You might use AI and machine learning for your new ideas, for new businesses. Cloud provides lot of services already there, and at a very low cost. You don't have to set up everything from the scratch. All you can do is you can go and use those services, and you can actually focus on your idea and implementation rather than the underlying things. So machine learning, IoT, lot of IoT services are available on the cloud. AI services and quantum computing services, blockchain. If you have an idea, you can implement using blockchain, because blockchain needs lot of resources and then setup and lot of things, right? So that is all available with cloud. You can implement your idea of blockchain uh, just using these services. and serverless computing. So using all these new advanced solutions available on cloud, you can easily pick up that. So these are the examples. I'm not going into, I mean, each and every line here. Just you can go to amazon.com, aws.amazon.com, and you can see all these resources available there. So machine learning resources, you can go there. You have a lot of resources available. So text recognition, your natural language processing and your image processing. Lot of these things you can, you know, yeah, lot of these services you can use, and you can implement your ideas. So machine learning on AWS. Similarly, AI solutions. Google Cloud provides a lot of AI solutions, and Google Cloud provides underlying hardware as well. TPUs, tensor processing units. Your TensorFlow is a standard library that is used for your machine learning. Very popular library for machine learning. So underlying processing also is needed, very high capacity processing for processing a huge data for machine learning. So Google provides tensor processing units, TPUs, natural language processing and image processing. A lot of these things libraries are ready made there. You can start using them. And Microsoft also provides a lot of tools for AI. This is a list of tools. And blockchain, again, AWS provides blockchain services, Azure and IBM. These are few examples, but you can go to other providers also and you can search those services, and you can compare the cost and you can pick up one. IoT platforms, yes, these providers provide IoT platforms as well. Okay, so these are the platforms available. Where do you start actually? So getting started, AWS provides when you first time register. Actually, you provide your credit or debit card, but they will not charge you unless you cross the free tier limits. Basically, they provide free tier for the end users for 1 year. Uh, you can actually go and register, and this is the capacity. This is the old slide actually. How you can go for the latest numbers, what capacity they are providing. Lot of their services are free initially, so you can experiment those free services, and you can actually experiment your ideas before actually launching. Similarly, Azure provides a lot of free services, free tier, and also you can any ready-made solutions. For example, you want let us say some databases, some tools to be installed, some stack to be installed, some DevOps tools to be installed. All those are ready-made installed, are also available on these providers. So you don't have to put a lot of effort in setup of these things. Ready-made images are available. You can go and pick that image, so that installation is ready, and you can start using them. So all these providers actually provide those ready-made marketplace features where those installations are ready-made available for you. And on every cloud provider, you have a lot of resources, training resources. You can self-learn those things and use free tier to experiment it, or you can go for some. You can register for some trainings there. So every cloud provider has their own learning resources available there. And one last thing I'll conclude with this is your startups. If you are actually starting a new business, a new idea you have and you want to launch in the market, these providers actually provide very good, free credit for startup companies. This is different from this earlier free tiers I'm talking about. This free tier is for normal users. It's not as a company, but as an individual user if you want to use it. But as a company, you want to register as a startup, then you have a lot of offerings from these companies. For example, Google Cloud provides you, up to $3,000 from $3,000 to $1 lakh per year credit they give you, and and apart from this, they for so many other services they give you for free for some duration for a startup company. Similarly, AWS also gives you lot of startup promotional things for 1 year, 2 year, based on the your eligibility. And IBM also provides a lot of credits. Using these are all free credits. Using these free credits, you can actually use your services and start using the cloud using cloud, and you can implement your ideas there. All you need to do is you need to have your startup idea, and you need to qualify. They have some process of qualification. You need to qualify for that, and you will get that you know free TS. So this was a quick idea of cloud, and my focus was on what is cloud computing, and then the other thing, the most important thing I want to talk about is for your next disruptions, these clouds are ready. All you need to do is if you have an idea, you can start using this cloud, and you can give a lot of headache to provider, and you can focus more on your business and your idea. So that was the idea behind that, all this discussion. So I'll stop here. If you have any questions, you can ask.
Any queries from participants, please? Ask if you have any doubts, any queries. If you don't have, we'll close the shop. Okay.
Yeah. Thanks a lot, Dr. Fahim sir. Thank you very much for giving the opportunity.
I would like to
Your voice is breaking.
there is interruption.
Yeah, your voice was breaking, Dr. Sahab. I didn't hear you.
I'm audible.
Yeah, no better. I think it is voice is gone again.
Yes, his voice is breaking.
Yeah.
Hello. Okay. Shall we conclude, sir?
Yeah.
Hello. So, Luqman Sharif sir, start with. Hello.
Sir, your voice is breaking.
Has shared resources to consumers and on demand as a service. He said, cloud computing is a shared resources to consumers on demand. It's used as a service, pay as you go by, and use what you need and how much you need. Then he very nicely explained with the help of a cloud architecture what is cloud. Then with the cloud computing, and he explained SWAS, PWAS, IaaS, XaaS, all this, that is a software as a service, platform as a service, infrastructure as a service, then anything as a service. Then he moved on to, we are introduced to public, private, and hybrid cloud. Benefits of cloud computing was explained, and challenges of cloud computing has been explained. I thank Luqman Sharif sir on behalf of the management of OCI principal and our HOD department for delivering a knowledge-filled presentation. I would like to thank Dr. Saif Abrar for joining us and staying with us and providing with the resources. Thank you all the participants. Thank you very much. Thank you. Hello.
Yeah, thanks a lot.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much for joining us.
Yeah, I'm dropping. Yeah, thanks.